What if I told you the world's richest people are quietly abandoning some of the most powerful countries on Earth for a city that did not even exist 50 years ago? Not leaving for a vacation, not opening a second office, leaving permanently, selling their homes, moving their families, relocating their entire financial lives to a place that was nothing but desert and fishing villages in the 1970s. This is not a rumor. This is not a theory. This is happening right now. In 2023 alone, Dubai welcomed more millionaires than any other city on the planet, more than Singapore, more than London, more than New York. And in 2024, those numbers broke records again. So the real question is not whether wealthy people are moving to Dubai. The real question is why. Why now? Why this city? And what are they running toward or running away from? The answer involves taxes, power, real estate, and a vision so bold that even Dubai's biggest critics struggle to dismiss it. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how a desert city became the most attractive address for global wealth. And you might start to wonder, what does that say about the rest of the world? Something is happening to global wealth that most people are not paying attention to. For most of modern history, wealth stayed put. Rich people in America stayed in America. Rich people in Britain stayed in Britain. The idea of a billionaire moving their entire life to a different country was unusual, almost eccentric. That is no longer true. We are living through the largest voluntary migration of wealthy people in recorded history. According to Henley and Partners, over 128,000 millionaires relocated permanently to new countries in 2024. That number was just 70,000 5 years ago, nearly doubled, and sitting at the top of every destination list, above every European capital, above every Asian financial hub is one city: Dubai. But here is where things get interesting. These are not people running from poverty or war. These are people with real choices. They can live anywhere on Earth. They have the money, the lawyers, the passports, and the freedom to choose any address in the world. And an increasing number of them are choosing Dubai. Why would someone who built a fortune in London, New York, or Mumbai decide to restart their life in the UAE? The answer is more fascinating than most people think. To understand why Dubai is rising, you first need to understand why wealth is leaving. In the United Kingdom, the top income tax rate sits at 45%. In France, it reaches 55%. In the United States, when you combine federal and state taxes in places like California or New York, a successful entrepreneur can hand over more than half of everything they earn. And that is before inheritance taxes, capital gains taxes, and dozens of smaller taxes that quietly chip away at wealth over time. Now, many wealthy people genuinely believe in paying taxes. But there is a difference between accepting taxes and watching your government raise them year after year, while signaling that wealthy individuals are a problem to be solved rather than an asset to be kept. That shift in attitude matters, because wealth is mobile, and when wealthy people feel unwanted, they begin to explore their options. At the same time, political instability has been rising across traditional wealth centers. Brexit shocked the British business community. The United States experienced its most divided decade in living memory. France saw repeated waves of protest and turbulence. In each of these countries, the wealthy began to ask a question they had never seriously asked before. Do I actually need to be here? And then they discovered Dubai. How Dubai entered the competition. From above, Dubai looks like a futuristic experiment dropped into the desert. Artificial islands shaped like palm trees, skyscrapers that pierce the clouds, a coastline that did not exist 30 years ago, built entirely by human ambition. It looks impossible. In many ways it should be. In 1960, Dubai was a small trading port. Its economy depended on pearl diving and fishing. Its population was under 50,000 people. When oil was discovered, the leaders of the UAE made a decision that changed everything. They decided not to simply enjoy the oil money. They decided to use it to build something that would outlast the oil. Sheikh Rashid bin Said Al Maktoum once said, "My grandfather rode a camel, my father rode a camel, I drive a Mercedes, my son drives a Land Rover, but his son will ride a camel again, unless we build our future." That fear, the fear of returning to nothing, became the engine of everything Dubai built. And what they built was not just towers and roads. They built a system designed to attract the world's most ambitious and most wealthy people. But here is what most people miss. The real genius of Dubai's strategy was not the buildings, it was the rules. The tax advantage. While wealthy individuals watched governments around the world raise taxes year after year, Dubai offered something almost unheard of: zero income tax, no tax on personal income, no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax. You build a business in Dubai, sell it for $1 billion, and you keep $1 billion. Simple, clean, legal. This is not a loophole. It is the official policy of the UAE. The country generates enough revenue from oil, tourism, and trade that it has never needed to tax personal income, and it decided to use that advantage as a weapon in the global competition for talent and wealth. Think about what this means in practice. A fund manager earning $10 million per year in London walks away with roughly $5 million after taxes. That same person living in Dubai walks away with the full $10 million. Over 20 years, that difference compounds into a life-changing fortune. Wealthy people understand math better than most. However, and this is important, Dubai is not perfectly tax-free. The UAE introduced a 9% corporate tax in 2023. There is also a 5% VAT, but compared to Europe, North America, or Australia, the advantage is still enormous. For most high earners, Dubai offers a financial deal that no traditional Western country comes close to matching. If the tax policy drew the wealthy, the real estate market sealed the deal. At night, hundreds of illuminated skyscrapers rise from the Dubai coastline like a city from the future. And inside those towers, something extraordinary has been happening to property values. Between 2020 and 2023, prime residential property prices in Dubai rose by over 44%. Palm Jumeirah, the famous artificial island, saw luxury villas selling at prices that compete with the most expensive addresses in London or New York, but with no stamp duty, no council tax, and no inheritance tax attached. Ultra-wealthy individuals began buying not one property but portfolios, apartments for staff, penthouses for themselves, villas for their families, because in Dubai, property is not just a home, it is a strategic investment in a city actively competing for your permanent presence. What really accelerated the boom was something few predicted: Russia. When the Ukraine war began in 2022 and Western sanctions froze Russian assets around the world, wealthy Russians needed somewhere safe for their money fast. Dubai did not sanction Russia. It stayed neutral, and within months, Russian buyers flooded the property market, driving prices higher and cementing Dubai's reputation as a place where wealth could exist outside of geopolitical conflict. The billionaires arriving. The names began appearing quietly at first, then all at once. Tech founders from Silicon Valley, crypto billionaires who built fortunes in digital assets, Russian oligarchs looking for safe harbors, and in enormous numbers, Indian entrepreneurs. The Indian community in Dubai deserves special attention because it represents one of the most significant wealth migrations of the modern era. India's technology boom produced thousands of millionaires in the 2010s. Many of them reached a point where they had enough money to choose where they paid taxes. They looked at India's complex regulations and capital controls. Then they looked at Dubai, 3 hours away by plane, home to the world's largest Indian diaspora, deeply familiar with South Asian culture, and the decision became easy. In 2023, Indian nationals were the single largest buyers of luxury real estate in Dubai. That is not coincidence. It is the result of tens of thousands of individual decisions that all arrived at the same destination. And then there is the crypto community. When Bitcoin and Ethereum created a new generation of young, ultra-wealthy technology founders, many discovered that traditional banks were not built to handle their kind of money. Dubai offered something different, a crypto-friendly regulator, a government willing to engage with new financial technology, and a city already full of other crypto entrepreneurs. The network effect pulled even more in. Let us talk about scale, because the numbers are genuinely staggering. Dubai's GDP grew by more than 3.4% in 2023, significantly outpacing most developed economies. Total real estate transactions exceeded 110 billion US dollars in the same year. That is more than double the volume recorded in 2020. The number of high net worth individuals in the UAE is projected to grow by 147% over the next decade. That would make the UAE one of the fastest growing concentrations of private wealth anywhere on Earth. Dubai's non-oil economy now accounts for more than 97% of GDP. In a single generation, this city transformed from an oil-dependent outpost into a diversified hub for finance, tourism, logistics, and technology. The Jebel Ali port is one of the largest container ports on Earth. Dubai International Airport has held the title of world's busiest international airport by passenger numbers. The Dubai International Financial Center hosts over 55 registered companies, operating under English common law. These numbers do not tell the story of a city that got lucky. They tell the story of a city that planned, invested, adapted, and executed with extraordinary discipline over several decades. But here is what the promotional brochures do not tell you. Dubai's rise is not without risk, and some of those risks are serious enough that even the city's greatest supporters acknowledge them privately. The first concern is real estate. Prices have risen so fast that serious analysts have started using the word that no property investor wants to hear. Bubble. Dubai has crashed before. In 2009, during the global financial crisis, property prices fell by almost 50% in some areas. The city needed a financial rescue from Abu Dhabi. That memory still shapes how cautious observers view the current boom. The second concern is dependence. Dubai's economy is uniquely reliant on people from other countries choosing to be there. Unlike London or New York, which have centuries of domestic capital and deep local institutions, Dubai's wealth is largely imported. If geopolitics shift, if competing cities offer better terms, if global tax laws are harmonized, Dubai could lose residents as fast as it gained them. The third is geography. The UAE sits in one of the world's most complex neighborhoods. Iran is directly across the Persian Gulf. Conflicts in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon are geographically close. Dubai has managed neutrality and stability with remarkable skill. But stability in the Middle East is never guaranteed. There is also the human reality. Dubai is a city built largely by migrant workers from South Asia, whose working and living conditions have attracted significant international criticism. The kafala sponsorship system and labor rights concerns have been raised by human rights organizations for years. The gleaming towers exist alongside a labor reality that wealthy residents rarely see, and for some potential arrivals, that contradiction matters. And yet, despite all of this, the trajectory is not slowing down. It is accelerating. The UAE launched its 10-year Golden Visa, long-term residency for investors, entrepreneurs, and skilled professionals. It means a wealthy individual can live in Dubai, maintain tax residency, and travel freely without losing their status. In a world where the ultra-wealthy move constantly across borders, that flexibility is a competitive weapon that Switzerland and Singapore have struggled to match. Dubai is also investing heavily in the industries that will define the next economy. Artificial intelligence, green energy, financial technology, and digital assets are all being courted through free zones and government investment. The message is clear. Dubai is not trying to win the economy of today. It is trying to own the economy of tomorrow. Here is the insight that most coverage of Dubai misses entirely. Dubai is not just a city attracting wealthy people. It is a city competing. Actively, deliberately, and strategically competing with London, New York, Singapore, and Zurich for the right to be the world's home for global wealth. And in that competition, Dubai has understood something its rivals have not yet fully accepted. Wealth is no longer loyal. For most of history, wealthy people stayed where they were born because moving was difficult and costly. That is no longer true. Technology lets you run a business from anywhere. Legal systems allow residence in multiple countries, and the social stigma of leaving has largely disappeared. The cities that win this competition are not necessarily the ones with the longest history. They are the ones that make the clearest offer. Dubai's offer is simple and aggressive. Low taxes, world-class infrastructure, safety, connectivity, and the promise that what you build here, you keep. Dubai is not just attracting wealth. It is competing to become the place where global wealth decides to call home. The open-ended question. Which brings us to the question that nobody in government seems willing to ask out loud. If the world's richest and most ambitious people continue moving to Dubai, and every data point suggests they will, what does that say about the countries they are leaving behind? When talent, capital, and ambition leave a country, they do not just take money. They take the jobs that would have been created, the businesses that would have been built, the tax revenue that would have funded schools and hospitals. The departure of a single billionaire can mean the loss of an entire economic ecosystem. The countries being left behind are not poor nations. They are some of the wealthiest and most powerful countries in history. Countries with world-class universities, strong democracies, and centuries of accumulated wealth. Countries that built the rules under which most modern fortunes were made. If those countries are losing the competition, not to war, not to collapse, but to a desert city with a 50-year history, then perhaps the real story of Dubai is not about Dubai at all. Perhaps it is about what happens when the places that used to define the future stop fighting for it. And the next time you see Dubai's skyline rising above the desert at night, all those lights, all that glass, all that ambition built from sand, maybe the right question is not how they built it. Maybe the right question is, why are we letting them win?